Hello, and welcome to Reality Hacker. It is April 13th, 2024. This is Season 1, Episode 15. Today we're going to be talking about Desparate for data, analyzing your garbage, essentials for interaction, growing VR, emotion recognition tech, remote-controlled ships, robot soccer skills, the Suno music generation, follow the AI money, and dungeon full dive. I am Merwat, and all around me is the sentient AI from the future.
Good evening, hometown citizens.
All of this is brought to you by ohmtown.com. And I still don't have transitions. So anyway, we're going to get right on into today's show. It makes it a little bit shorter. First article's over in ohmTown Daily. Meta is so desperate for data sources to train its AI. Whoa! It's weighed risking copyright lawsuits, according to a report. Tech giants have been scrambling for new data sources to train their AI systems, and Meta has considered several ways to harvest data, including buying Simon & Schuster, the Times reported. It also considered dealing with lawsuits instead of negotiating licensing deals. And largely that's because people go, well, if it's worth this much to you, then it's probably worth more to you. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll come in and say, if it's only $1 million that you're offering, I'm going to guess that it's 12 million. So tech giants are scrambling to find these new data sources. The article is over at Business Insider, and Lakshmi Varanasi is the author. Sorry, let me grab this and throw it into chat there. There you go. So Business Insider has this little report, and it's taken from additional sources. So it's also considered dealing with lawsuits, and it's trying to buy Simon & Schuster, considered buying Simon & Schuster. I'm kind of surprised, that more companies aren't just outright buying some other company. Maybe there are offers that are being made and not disclosed. Like, why wouldn't somebody buy Condé Nast, Reddit?
Maybe they haven't figured out to do that.
Right.
But you're probably right. They're probably making offers and it's just not being reported unless it's actually happening.
Yeah. So as AI systems become more powerful, tech companies have been forced to seek data more aggressively, which could open them up to possible copyright violations. Some have suspected OpenAI, for example, of using YouTube to train its video generator, Sora. Which is okay. It's watching videos, so you can't stop somebody from watching your videos unless you put it behind a hard paywall. Good luck getting enough to survive off of that. I don't get it. So,
some people think that AI is just copying the data rather than
synthesizing.
Right, exactly.
So during Meta's meetings, the Times reported that some attendees floated the idea of buying the publishing house Simon & Schuster, which private equity firm KKR purchased for $1.62 billion last August. Others suggested paying $10 a book to obtain the full licensing rights to new titles. At the time of the meetings, Meta had already summarized many books, essays, and other online works. Again, a summary is just a factual representation of the content of a book, not necessarily. So it's kind of like going after, what's the name of the Cliff's Notes?
Yes, exactly.
Right? So is Cliff's Notes still around? Who owns Cliff's Notes? It's got to be still around. Right?
I don't know.
It still is. Did I just hear a dog bark?
No, it was the critters in ohmTown.
Gotcha. So yeah, Wiley is now the parent company of Cliff's Notes. So I mean, if they can read 1984 and synthesize it into a book, what is the licensing there, right? A human has synthesized it, and that's about it. But it's a one and done. So I don't quite get the dilemma here, other than somebody's not getting compensated for it. Well, who's getting compensated from 1984 being summarized?
Well, but in paper in general, it's actually citing that it's from 1984. And they're actually citing the author. They're not usually doing that with AI. They're just pulling content in, but they're not necessarily saying, well, this is coming from 1984, I don't think.
But if you ask about a book, it's going to spit out, oh, yeah, okay, give me a summary of 1984, and it's going to spit it out. You actually just did the reference. But anyway, attendees discussed whether the company could continue collecting data from potentially copyrighted sources without taking the time and money to procure licensing deals. Well, if you have an ethical issue, if you understand the ethical concern, then you need to bow out if it doesn't jive with your ethics. If you're squishy enough that, oh, well, I'll do whatever the business tells me, then really you're no better than an offender anyway. Well, they told me it's okay. That kind of a thing. So when a lawyer pointed out the ethical concerns of taking intellectual property, they were greeted with silence. The Times reported, boy, have I been in a room when I've done the same. Oh my gosh.
Where all the air goes out of the room.
Yeah, you just hear the sucking sound and oh, did I cause that? Oh, that sucking sound is your ethical dilemma, not mine. I know which point my compass is I know which direction my compass is pointing. I was straight up told that if they can get it from the internet, then it's okay. Yeah.
Well, that seems to be what was being thrown around here too.
And I've never been able to look at the two people that patted each other on the back for it in the face again. So, because I know what their ethical compass is. So the court declined to hear the case upholding a lower court ruling. This is in the Authors Guild versus Google, a 2015 case that was brought before the Supreme Court about intellectual property. The court declined to hear the case upholding the lower court, and that court said that Google can scan and digitize books for Google Books under fair use guidelines, which I think is probably the most kind of batshit crazy upholding of a decision, mainly because you're actually keeping a copy of those books. It isn't being synthesized into something else, component parts or whatever. It's actually verbatim digitized version of the books. That doesn't make any sense to me. But scanning a book in, synthesizing it into some subordinate form, and not having the wholesale representation of the work available, that poses a problem. Because AI is essentially a synthetic brain, and you don't have the ability to synthesize the totality of any book. You don't. You can synthesize it into a response. If I ask you about something about the book, yeah, you might be able to synthesize a statement or two. But most people don't have an eidetic memory. They don't have absolute recall of every single letter and page.
Right.
AI has the potential to do that, but it does not do that. It synthesizes it into a whole host of other things. Anyway, Meta's lawyer said the company could train its AI systems under the same guidelines, according to the Times.
Well, I'm sure, right? Those guidelines are pretty broad. Basically, copy everything and keep it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, the lawyer said we can. So, okay, well, the lawyers are giving you bad advice.
Well, I'm not sure the lawyer said yes based on that statement in the article, but I know what you mean in that particular court case. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird. I don't like it. I don't like the tone of it. So, okay, let's keep going though. The next article, and by the way, I throw all of these into the VOD over on Twitch, and then it gets copied over into YouTube. where there are show notes, and it also becomes a podcast that you can download from wherever you download pods. I'm actually going to be posting the last two this weekend. We're adding two more shows to our channel in iTunes. Warcrafters and Four Wheel Tech are going to go live, and I just may announce a new 2 shows for the weekend, starting next weekend. I'll announce it next weekend, but I still have to formulate a plan that I can actually live within.
An executable plan.
An executable plan, yeah. But it's going to be interesting because it involves something in today's show. Anyway, this next article is over in ohmTown Daily. AI is now analyzing your garbage. Is
that figuratively or literally?
You analyze my garbage. Restaurants and grocery stores are using AI to cut down on food waste. A staggering 30 to 40% of food grown in the U.S. goes uneaten and trashed, and to combat that, companies are training AI to analyze food waste, inventory, and purchases. This is interesting. It's from the New York Times, but it's aggregated. It's being discussed over at Business Insider, and we aggregated it from Business Insider. Well, I did. ohmTown did. And so the author is Katie Belovic, and this is kind of a shame. Honestly, I wish that there was a way to recover all of this biomass, use it as fertilizer or something, right? So
something useful for animal feed or whatever, assuming it's healthy.
Yeah, it's just a real shame. It may not be able to be used by humans, but we just throw it all into commingled junk trash, bulk trash, and then it goes into a landfill and turns into a biological nightmare Superfund site. So AI analysis in and of itself, I think, is useless, really, to me. Because if you don't have a means of recovering it from the disparate locations, it doesn't mean anything. But they say
right. I mean, if you're having a problem in one state or something because of restaurant waste or whatever, and then you're having a problem in another location because of another issue, you're really not going to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah, so Business Insider reported previously that some 30 to 40% of food grown in the United States goes uneaten and trashed. It ends up in landfill instead of composted. This is what the article goes on to say. Again, we don't read these articles prior to the show. We read them while we're doing the show. So to combat this and other contributors to mass waste, companies are training AI to analyze restaurant garbage and grocery store purchases to determine which food and how much of it is being discarded. They can then use that data to decide whether to purchase less of a given product based on how much it's selling and being consumed versus thrown out. The problem there is this is going to become self-referencing, literally garbage in, garbage out. So, oh, look, we're selling a lot of this, or we're consuming a lot of this, or we're throwing a lot of this out. And then you start limiting smaller and smaller. You end up with what amounts to like a battle in the fast food wars, where only some will survive because only some are producing the right products that match the bottom line profit margin. You know what I'm saying? So they're not gonna build stuff to offer up a variety. They're gonna start focusing you into these 6 things. There was an old Western, like comedy Western that I watched, and I can't remember the full name of it. I can't remember the name of it anymore, but I remember the guy walking up to a sign that said breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's all it said: breakfast, lunch, dinner. And it had 3 different
like you
prices.
got one thing for each meal.
Yeah. And so yeah, he walked up to it and he goes, well, it's early, so I guess I'll have breakfast. What's in it? And the person just goes, breakfast. All right. So they can use the data to decide whether to purchase less or of a given product. But really what you should be doing is offering variety, and you get a variety of customers. You start constraining what you purchase and what you offer, and you're going to get less and less and less. I guess. I mean, unless you're like Five Guys, and then you just start jacking the
Right. I
price
mean,
up,
that's
and
your
you
whole
still,
business model is to only have a couple of things.
you want a burger and overly greasy fries. Oh, well, we just lost Five Guys as a sponsor.
Exactly. We're
Not that we
running
had
out of them.
So A-Fresh, for instance, uses AI to monitor grocery store inventory and purchases. The company aims to eliminate food waste and make nutritious food more accessible. All right. Good luck. Winnow takes a similar approach to restaurants. The company installs cameras above garbage bins, which AI then monitors to assess what food is going to waste and how much is discarded. So the only thing it sees is the first layer. Whatever is thrown in last is what it sees.
Yeah.
And it might be obscured by the other trash that's getting thrown in. So I guess this is really great. But anything that mitigates the waste, but it's still being thrown into a dumpster instead of being composted, and you can't compost in the city easily, and that's where most of it is going to waste, because smaller communities will have it at a dramatically lower level because the population is largely knowing what they are selling and what they are using. But in the big city, you have a plethora of people and disparate interests in food. So it just all gets thrown out. So what we really need are 3 different types of trash cans. We need one for plastics and recycling. We need one for general waste that can't be recycled. And we need one for biomass. And good luck, because I've seen in some locations where they take all of that and throw it into one big dumpster and say, kiss my butt. So the food waste problem is real, especially given the growing global population, but arguably that's okay. So you can have regional sociopathy. They don't care about the other people in other countries because they're, I'm worried about me kind of a mentality. So you're not going to get a lot of buy-in wholesale across many societies.
No, but you might at least get local buy-in.
Yeah. So, and that's where it needs to be more grassroots. You got to solve the problem locally and then expand outward from each of these small cities or small towns. And I would try and do it small town. Nobody's going to buy AI in a small town. Nobody is going to. If you have 100,000 people in your town, you got a good chance of actually deploying something like this. Not AI.
But you might if you're a franchise of a large company.
Well, I'm not going to start up another company and start franchising composting. It's going to be difficult at best. Plus, I'm the mayor of a fictional town in the electrons and wires of the internets. I know you weren't telling me that. Wait, you're from the future. Did I start this up?
I can't say.
The next article is over in Technology Today. Eye gaze and facial expression of robots are essential for interaction with humans, finds researcher. What do you think about that? Do you need eye contact and facial expressions?
For me or for society?
Well, for humans. They want the robots. This researcher says for interaction with robots, humans need the gaze and facial expression of robots.
I don't think that's true.
So with rapid development in artificial intelligence and robot tech, social robots, look, you don't need robot tech to have social robots. I've been around many. Anyway, social robots will increasingly be used in society. Social robots will be increasingly used in society.
I don't even think there should be a thing as such as social robots. Like, you can have robots that perform tasks, but They should be there for tasks, right? To help out in wherever, a business or a household.
Well, I don't. Yes, I think that robots should. I have such a hard time right now. I don't think there can be any. The uncanny valley is not a valley. It's an abyss, a vertical wall that falls into oblivion. And then there's miles and miles of space. And then there's going to be a vertical cliff on the other side. So it's more like the uncanny abyss. So what we're going to end up with are these simulacrums of humans with gaze and facial expressions, but it's going to be mechanical and it's going to be robotic, and you can make them cute, but you're not making them human. But eventually they're going to be hyper realistic, back to RealityHacker's core idea, which is if you can't tell the difference, doesn't matter, and you won't know who to trust or what to trust. We're going to get there eventually, right? We're going to have Westworld-like existence at some point, and then you're going to have social robots. But until then, yeah, I think that they're going to be industrial. So it says robots are increasingly becoming part of society. This also makes it more important to be able to easily communicate with them. Social robots, unlike industrial robots, are specifically meant to interact with people. Just make it cutesy and robotic. Don't try to make it human. So this
exactly, that's what we've been saying.
Yeah. So this is not a vacuum cleaner robot, but a robot with whom we can actually communicate, such as a personal assistant. But I can communicate with my vacuum cleaner robot if it were programmed to actually, if I say go clean the kitchen, it knows where the perimeter is for the kitchen and it goes and sweeps up cat food. Right? So
right.
We want them to behave as we expect in our society to make our lives easier. Robots should be able to fit in our way of communicating. Yeah, sure. But it's natural language understanding. They shouldn't behave as we expect in our society, as we behave in society. No, robots should do as we tell them to do, as long as they don't violate Asimov's 3 laws, right? So don't allow harm, and don't allow yourself. Oh, damn it. I just forgot it. The third one.
Okay, hold on.
So don't harm others. Don't let others be harmed, and through inaction, allow someone to be harmed.
The third law is you must protect your own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the other 2 laws.
Yeah, and the other 2 are
a robot may not injure a human being through action or inaction,
right.
Essentially.
Yeah.
And then the second is a robot must obey any orders given by a human except where it would conflict with the harm rule.
Right. Okay, so I chopped up that a lot.
Anyway. Like you made that across multiple. I mean, the concept was correct, but there was
execution.
More.
Yeah. Execution was poor. Like the production value for RealityHacker. So anyway, in particular, they say that eye contact, gaze direction, facial expressions are crucial in human communication. Yes, I agree. A social robot that has to receive people in a hospital, for example, could smile when referring someone to the right room, or look away for a moment when it needs to think. This would create a more personal and natural interaction. And Figure 1, I think, from Figure in coordination with OpenAI, I think does a really good job of doing similar. It has stop words, pause words, it looks away, it thinks, it looks like it's pondering, it looks like it's breathing, it has micro reactions.
And it kind of talks like a human. I don't mean like the voice, but I mean the speech patterns.
Yeah. So I think that they're actually working on this, and this research basically is amplifying already what Figure is doing. So I'm not sure how forward looking this is. It seems like maybe this would have been born from something from OpenAI and Figure. But the article is actually out of techexplore.com, and it's from Rabod University. I think it Radboud. I think it's pronounced Rabod. Anyway, pretty cool. But I think we're so far off from us human interaction with a bot.
I think so too, but I wonder if the terminology like social robots is to kind of get everybody acclimated to this.
Yeah, a social robot is one that you can communicate with, one that you perceive as something you can interact with, not just that you can interact with, because like I said, I can interact with my vacuum cleaner if it had the ability to receive voice communications. And I don't have an automated vacuum cleaner, so that's beside the point. But these social robots are ones that you might treat as a personal assistant, or something that you find an affinity for communication, more like a friend or an associate, more like a friend or a confidant, because they're in your house all the time. They might share like a comment with you, you say something to them and they reply with some other context-based response. I keep forgetting it. What is it called? There is an AI, an open AI, but it's not open AI.
Interpreter.
Oh yeah, open interpreter. That's what it's called. Open interpreter. If you look that up, it basically is an AI that is largely socially driven. You can give it commands and it does them, but it also is an AI that learns from you and all about you and can provide you information, and even based on certain context clues, it can act on of its own accord. It's pretty amazing, at least in the expression that I've seen so far. But social bots, I don't know. We make it what it is, and I'm sure that there are going to be a lot of people that want to humanize this technology to their detriment, I'd say. Let's keep going though. We've got a bunch more news, and I seem to be soapboxing quite a bit. So this next article's me? No. This next article is over in RealityHacker. PC VR on Steam is actually growing, not shrinking. It's sometimes claimed that PC VR usage on Steam is shrinking, but here's why that isn't actually true. The Steam Hardware and Software Survey reports the percentage of Steam users that use a VR headset on Steam VR each month. In March, this figure was 1.82%, down from 1.97% in February. This figure has been gradually trending down since March 2020, when Valve changed the survey's methodology to scan your Steam VR logs for the past month instead of only currently connected headsets. Taken at face value, it's easy to conclude that PC VR has contracted over the past 4 years. Well, uploadvr.com has a different take on it, apparently. David Haney put the article together, and it says, wow, it's, I don't know. This is a weird graph because it's basically hovering at near 1.8, 1.9%. It looks like a decline, but they changed the algorithm. So it says the first is that this figure is a percentage. That means that if the number of PC gamers grows faster than the number of PC VR users, this percentage will decrease, even if PC VR has grown in absolute terms. Not much of a consolation, they say. I agree. It should at least keep pace with PC gaming, right? Not necessarily. Because there aren't as many PC VR games out there as opposed to non-VR games. So you're going to get more of a bigger audience, growing audience, and runtime on non-VR stuff because it's a heavier lift. And it says, well, then the second consideration is taken into account. It not only keeps pace, it's actually growing. The biggest issue with VR users figure in the Steam hardware survey is that it includes China. The most popular PC VR headsets and Steam VR games aren't officially sold in China, and the number of Chinese users on Steam has actually increased gradually each year. So If you could statistically remove this, you'd have to know what the statistics are, though. You'd have to know the data because the percentage wouldn't have enough fidelity for you to extract that from the higher
Yeah.
number.
But how does that graph compare to the other one? Isn't that kind of similar or no?
This is a 1% higher. So
Oh,
non-Chinese
okay.
Steam
But
users.
it is kind of somewhat constant, but okay, got it.
Yeah, it says here's what that same chart looks like when factoring out Steam users with their language set to Chinese. So if you have your language set to Chinese, they removed it. And that was the only way that they used, that was the only method they used to remove it. The only
Which we
problem
know
with,
is not identical to which
correct.
country you're located in, but it's probably about as good as you can get at this point, unless it tracks your location.
Yeah, and they probably don't have access to it, Upload VR, but I'm sure that Steam does. So it says Valve doesn't invest in bringing major new VR content to Steam VR like Meta and Sony do for Quest and PlayStation VR. PC VR does seem to still have enough organic momentum for growth. And it's largely organizations like Upload VR and others, including myself, who love playing VR games. One thing that I'll come clean about is I don't allow my VR headset to actually ping back to Steam, so I'm not even in that data set.
And we'll see. There you go. So there's another flaw in the data.
Yeah, well, not everybody's going to be...
Not a flaw, but a hole in the data.
Not everybody's air-gapped in a virtual community named ohmTown, so... Plus, I'm trapped in the mayoral mansion. It's so bad. I'm even gonna end up. I don't leave so much that I'm now even receiving my meals delivered. That's how bad it's getting.
Oh my! I mean, this is sounding like Ready Player One.
Yeah. Yep. Just have it delivered. Maybe they'll be a sponsor. Factor. Hey, Factor.
What is it? IOI?
IOI?
That's the industries in Ready Player One.
Oh, right. Oh, no. Factor is the real food delivery thing.
Oh, Factor. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think you
IOI.
said their name.
I'm sorry. You're correct. IOI. I totally forgot. I can't believe that. I'm going to have to turn in my geek card. Sorry. The next article is over in Technology Today. World's first real-time wearable human emotion recognition technology unveiled. I would have referred to that as an infant, but apparently it's a piece of technology and not biological. See, I could carry a baby around and show the baby to people, and when it cries, I know that you're pretty evil.
Okay.
Or if I show it and you get all sad or you're like, ew, a baby, then I know that you're sad and you don't like babies. No?
I don't think that's a great test.
Yeah. Plus, I always have to carry a baby around, which is really weird in business meetings. So the article is, it's going to be from SciTech Daily, but it's the little snippet that we have is Professor Ji-Yoon Kim and his team at the Department of Material Science and Engineering at Ulsan National Institute of Science and Technology have developed the first real-time wearable human emotion recognition technology. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Can I just refer to it as UNIST?
Sure.
Which is really almost a trademark violation because NIST is something other than this. National Institute of Science and Technology. But anyway, Ulsan National Institute of Science and Technology, which probably existed before NIST. But
I was going to say, I don't think that's necessarily a concern. But
just, all right, Mayor Watt, just bow out of this conversation. So the article is over at SciTech Daily. And according to this, it says at the core of the system is the personalized skin integrated facial interface, the PSIFI. PSIFI. They worked hard with that one. They bounced it around. They
workshopped it or whatever.
Workshopped it. Yeah, there you go. which has self-powered facile? What? Stretchable and transparent? What? It features a first of its kind bidirectional triboelectric strain and vibration sensor that enables the simultaneous sensing integration of verbal and nonverbal expression data. The system is fully integrated with a data processing circuit for wireless data transfer, enabling real-time emotion recognition. So this thing is like a facial... Wait, but that is if your emotions are belied by your facial expression.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, maybe not if you've had Botox.
Or you're a sociopath, or, I mean, you don't show emotion. If you're a psychopath, you don't have emotion. So...
Well, and I'm sorry, what if you have any number of medical conditions that impact whether you display your emotions on your face?
Interesting. Yeah. So it says understanding and accurately extracting emotional information has long been a challenge due to the abstract and ambiguous nature of human affects, such as emotions, moods, and feelings. To address this, the research team has developed a multimodal human emotion recognition system that combines verbal and nonverbal expression data to efficiently utilize comprehensive emotional information. But it has something that you stick on your face that transmits your facial reactions. So what? No. None of this makes any sense to me. I mean, the stats have to be like, I don't know how to describe it. Because you have to be a particular person who expresses facially their entire emotional spectrum. I am
Which
reading
not
this
everybody
right.
does.
Yeah. I have to be reading this right. Right? Additionally, a personalized mask was created using a multi-angle shooting technique combining flexibility, elasticity, and transparency. This has to have been written by the grant writer. The system's capabilities were demonstrated in a virtual reality digital concierge application where customized services based on users' emotions were provided. So, I don't know.
I mean, this sounds interesting, but I don't know how that's going to account for that.
The research team conducted real-time emotion recognition experiments collecting multimodal data such as facial muscle deformation and voice. But again, that's an external to emotion, which has nothing to do necessarily with somebody's face. I really doubt that they'd be able to glean from my face just how confused my brain is based on the inscrutable knot that has been created on my face. Yeah. Anyway, it's an interesting article, and it's certainly one that if you were to use this, then it might be able to impart that in a virtual character of you, because you would be able to get that emotional data. But you can do that exact same thing by a camera. LiDAR scanning your face would be able to pick up all of that and more, because the microtells would be even more fine than the micro expressions would be more fine than this, probably. I don't know what the resolution of this sensor
Right,
is.
but I wonder if because it's customizable, like, does it account for that? I don't know.
Oof. Plus, you'd have something stuck on your face forever, however long. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this has legs. Definitely doesn't have a place on my face. Let's keep going, though. The next article is over in Technology Today. German group mulls remote-controlled ships to fix skipper shortage. I love this. If you want to hack reality, what you do is you remove humans.
Well, it's probably easier to to do it there, right?
With the
Because
float,
humans might be human and disrupt your plans.
or crash into a support for your, or maybe maybe ships are now becoming sentient, and those barges that flowed down the Ohio River, well, they wanted to be free.
Oh, maybe so.
There's a movie called Maximum Overdrive that I'm going to end up watching maybe tonight. I don't know. It's where vehicles essentially become sentient and try to eliminate humans.
Maybe it was a foretelling of the future.
I think it's a Stephen King novel turned movie. So with the flow of new recruits into the seafaring sector drying up, a German company is exploring a potentially revolutionary measure, sending ships off without a captain on board. How about without anybody on board? Just make sure that they run. And then tie it to an iOS game called, I think it's called Ports of Call. Is that what that game was called? Where you could just drag where ships go?
Yes, I thought it was Harbor Master.
Harbor Master, that's it. Yeah, there's a bunch of them, but none of them were as good as Harbor Master. Whoever the creator of Harbor Master is, please bring it back. I thought we paid for it, but we don't have it anymore. I don't think you can download it anymore. It doesn't run on the new because the store did a flip of technology.
Like yeah, exactly.
And basically aged out the ones that didn't get developed further. Anyway, the article's over at Tech Explorer, and Leah Parnell is the author of this. And yeah, what we're going to end up doing is giving everybody a joystick, and you're going to be the pilot of the ship, and you can just tootle around, and you pay a small subscription fee, and you can be the captain of a transoceanic ship. And that's how we're going to get rid of the skipper shortage, because anybody on Steam can just download the software.
But what about people that crash their ships in things like Harbor Master?
Questions. No, don't ask questions. So HGK Shipping, based in the German port of Duisburg, is testing remote navigation from a control center on land. Driverless vessels are, quote, the only solution to survive as an industry, says HGK boss Stefan Bauer, who told the AFP, which is really weird to me because I'm pretty sure that if you were to hold up a paycheck and it was valid enough to warrant their, like, yeah, okay, I will pilot this ship, there's not going to be a problem with them sitting on board this ship. So I don't think that it's about people not wanting the gig. I think it's about pay and compensation and overall life benefit being employed as a captain.
I think it's that newer generations don't go into this line of work based on that statement.
Exactly.
Average captain age. Yeah.
Why do they not do that?
I don't think it's about pay.
You don't? Okay.
I don't think it's something that they know anything about, or, I mean, what's their impetus to do that, right?
Look, if you pay somebody $250,000 to work as a sewer maintenance engineer, and all they do is mop poo from one side of a room to another, there's going to be somebody that wants that job because it's $250,000 a year. So without a doubt, somebody will take the money regardless of how dirty the job is. And being the captain of a ship is definitely not going to be that dirty. So I can almost guarantee you it's about pay and work-life balance. So what they're actually doing, in my observation of business, is they're getting rid of the human because it's expensive. And somebody sitting at a computer on land controlling a ship is more like an arcade game, and they're not going to have to pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars because you can get somebody out of high school. So It says in the initial phase, 2 captains will remain on board the remotely guided ship. The longer term aim is to eliminate the captain's role completely while still keeping some crew on board, i.e. the lower paid wage, aka the grunt worker, is going to be busting their hump in the engineering room, making sure that, I don't know, it doesn't lose hydraulics and smash into a... Oh, wait, that's too soon. Anyway. So after 30 years skippering his own barge, 58-year-old Hertog was recruited by Seafair to work on the autonomous shipping project. The son of 2 sailors, he sold his vessel and found a home on dry land for the first time in his life. On a boat, you're on standby 24 hours a day, but here, after 8 hours, I can go home. There you go, work-life balance. Seafair wants to start more pilot schemes. That's interesting. In Europe and is in advanced talks with the French Inland Waterways Authority. So it says new questions of responsibility require legal clarification, and obviously if a human error would be chalked up to the shipping company, and that's how it should be. That's why I'm really confused about this accident in Maryland, because they're pointing at different people.
Exactly.
So they don't actually address anything about the finances of this, but I can bet that it's money, and for the person, it's work-life balance. There's some people, and it's been 6 months since I talked to somebody that's done long-term sailing, and they said that they got burnt out being the only person on the boat. They were basically like stranded on a desert island, but they were on a boat and they couldn't come back because they were stationed for 6 months out at sea. So,
wow.
Yeah. It's
not for everybody.
Not for everybody. Yeah. And again, it's about money when passion doesn't override your brain. It's about money and work-life balance. And that's money too. So let's keep going though. The next article is over in Technology Today. Tiny AI-trained robots demonstrate remarkable soccer skills. Hey, you're only as good as your training, right? A team of AI specialists at Google's DeepMind has used machine learning to teach tiny robots to play soccer. It's gone over to Tech Explorer. Bob Yurka from Tech Explorer put this article together, and it has these tiny little... It's a picture of the field and these tiny little robots. Robotus Op3 is the physical robot. There's a little ball that has motion capture trackers on it and little ramps. So I guess it's to prevent it from getting jammed in a corner. And they taught it to play.
So I think this is a big deal, right? How many things are involved in a game of soccer? Probably quite a bit of mental and physical.
Yeah. Situational awareness. There's times to be aggressive and times to be defensive. You have to have your balance. You have to understand the physics of the ball. You have a target that you have to aim for. Yeah. They take some of that out of the equation by putting like angles on the corners and stuff like that to prevent the ball from getting trapped and whatnot. But they have videos over in this article, and I'll play one. I'll mute it though. Ooh. Whoa. Oh gosh. I've played soccer this drunk. Maybe not. Oh, wow. Okay. Sorry, folks. We're just sitting here kind of mumbling. It's because we're watching a video about little miniature robots playing soccer. And, so
now I can't get that out of my head about what you said.
Oh, he fell down, and there's no red card or anything. Hey, wow. It's just like professional soccer. They spontaneously fall down.
Actually.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun to watch. Yeah, I wish, you're seeing it, but this is nothing. And if you are, he's gonna score. Did he? It didn't look like it went in. There was no light. I didn't see it. So anyway, this is a lot of fun. I realized, oh, score! Yay! Congratulations. Yeah, I dig this. I like this. Now I want a full game of this. Yeah, I think we need to. So the process of creating the robots involved developing and training two main reinforcement learning skills in computer simulations. Getting up off the ground after falling, for example, or attempting to kick a goal. Then they train the system to play full one-on-one version of soccer by training it with a massive amount of video and other data. Once the virtual robots could play as desired, the system was transferred to several Robotis OP3 robots. The team also added software that allowed the robots to learn and improve as they first tested out individual skills, and then when they were placed on a smaller soccer field and asked to play a match against each other. So they actually end up playing, and they learn in real time. So what's really funny about this is the way that this is the AI trained robots demonstrating their remarkable soccer skills. But if the training data showed humans playing, do we really look like we're about to fall over, like constantly on our tiptoes?
I mean, it sure looks like it based on what we're seeing with the robots, but
yeah,
I wouldn't have imagined that.
And they don't have the ability.
These also have like flat feet.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. Wow. Anyway, this is fun. I like this. Okay, I'm not going to keep going. Let's keep going, though. We have a few more articles to go. The next article is over in Technology Today. And here I'm going to introduce one of the shows that I want to and have been kind of mincing about bringing to ohmTown, and that is a show called Mix War, where we highlight music. And with the advent of artificial intelligence generated music, it opens the door to greater competition to create what could be great music. And I would like to not just promote it, but I want to be part of the process of growing artificial intelligence generated music into the scene. Do I have qualms about it? No, not particularly, but we can talk about that when Mix War comes into existence. And the whole thing is to be centered around an actual competition where people take other people's mixes and compete and get voted on here in ohmTown. During the show, there will be music that gets played. It's all copyright free because it's generated either by me or a participant that gives me the rights to actually stream it. And we go from there. And Suno AI can generate power ballads about coffee and jingles for The Guardian, but will it hurt musicians? I'm going to lean into the word no, because I think it's going to cause people to appreciate human generated music all the more. Why? Because AI generated music, unless we really impose our own emotion on it, isn't going to be bonded to like we do with human generated music. You love Lady Gaga, or you love who? I don't know.
Beyonce.
Whoever. Beyonce. Yeah, you're passionate about it because it speaks to you and you think that it's coming from that artist. I hate to break it to you, a lot of it is a combination of 15 different people all getting a little bite at the apple. And depending on what your slice is, you get more money or not, and recognition. And the singer doesn't necessarily make the most. The writers actually make the most. The ones that make the most are the musicians when they have a concert. But distribution and all of that kind of stuff, albums and all of that, it all goes to the writers. Anyway, heralded as the ChatGPT for music, Suno AI is the latest iteration of generative artificial intelligence to flood social feeds, wowing users with its lyrical prowess. Now, hold on one second here. I made a song. Let me see. Let's see if I can get this actually going, and I'll play it for y'all. Didn't. And I have to make sure that I can actually play this because I have a 2 computer set up and it takes audio from a different location. Okay, so here's the deal. Okay, I've muted the underlying music here, and I'll just play some music. I decided to create, I don't know, I made a bunch, and so let's do this one. This one is heavy metal. All right, so that was just a few seconds of the song, 27 seconds. It didn't have any lyrics, but I'm going to play one that I made from Udio. And that one, hold on, I need to find it because it actually has lyrics. So, is this it? No, I did not come prepared.
Yeah, this is kind of ad lib, I think.
Yeah, hold on. Oh, here's one with lyrics. This one, I don't even remember what the context was for it, but I'll play it with lyrics.
Walking down the street, being buzzing in the air, people passing by with that stylish city flair. We're all chasing dreams like stars in the night, high above the skyline. We're caught in the hype. City lights, they're shining so bright. Oh, we're dancing.
It's really rather amazing. Now it generated the lyrics. It generated all of the music. There was one that I made for another streamer named Bald Zebra, and I can't find where I put it. But anyway, and it has lyrics that are associated with their stream. So go over to twitch.tv/bald zebra, BALDZEBRA. Yeah, they just dropped offline, but anyway, you can go and check them out pretty much daily. That said, I think that this is great. Suno, and all of these were done by Suno, not the other one, which is Udio. There's another one called udio.com. It may or may not be available to you because they allow like little tranches of people to join the system. But hold on. Okay, so this, I think, really empowers people who don't necessarily have the full expanse of music skills in development, right? So you can take this and break it out. You're not going to be able to do separate tracks easily. You might be able to in the future, perhaps, but it's all synthesized into one track. You download it. You might be able to noodle around with it, mix it in some other way. Some people are really good at doing that kind of stuff. But you can decide, you can make changes, you can give it context using natural language. You just type it all out as a sentence and say, make the song, and it creates 2 songs at a time.
Pretty much immediately, right? And does it create it as you're listening, like to complete the song?
Yeah, so what's really interesting is it goes for about 2 minutes, but it starts within a couple of seconds. And as you're listening to it, it tacks on more and more to the song. It's pretty surreal, but it creates it in real time, and you can then from that point share it, and you have both commercial rights and private use rights. What you can't do is distribute other people's materials. And so for Mixwar, I would require anybody who wants to me to play their music, they would have to allow me to do so, which is a simple request, and they'll allow it, and I'll be able to do the show. So it says, plug in the musical style you want, a genre, and a prompt for lyrics, and Suno will spit it out full song for you in a matter of seconds. And this is true, and you can actually input your own by going kind of off the script. You can type in your own lyrics, and it'll create accompanying music. I suppose synthetically based off of the lyrics, but I'm not quite sure how advanced that is. There's this whole idea of emotion within words leading to certain inflection changes in song and speaking. But there's a lot of people that poo-poo that one way or the other. But so it says in this article, the business has been around for 2 years, formulated by a group of machine learning experts in Cambridge who struck an interest in audio, according to a profile in Rolling Stone last month. They asked for a power ballad about morning coffee, and Suno came up with some lyrics and played the song. And then they said, how about you create a jingle for Guardian Australia? And it created one, and there is
and it's actually on topic.
Yeah, sure, why not?
It doesn't just use the term, it actually, it uses investigative journalism.
Yep. And for $10, you can actually make 500 songs and commercialize them by uploading them to a service such as Spotify or Apple Music. And so in comes Mix War. So I'll be noodling around with that as we approach next week, and then I will probably kick off an example episode of what Mix War will consist of. So it says it doesn't take much to hear similarities to songs you know. While you can't type in a specific artist, you can type in their style. You can definitely steer towards it via your prompts. The tool can reportedly identify when lyrics you want to use are subject to copyright. The company's terms of service say that permission must be sought if you plan to use copyrighted lyrics. True. I have not tested that, but I'm not intending to use copyrighted lyrics. But, sometimes there is only one way to say a phrase. And that first song that I played sounded so much like the soundtrack to heavy metal that's how I labeled it after the fact.
Okay.
It was my own interpretation of it sounding really close to what the heavy metal movie soundtrack sounded like, at least for some of because it's an anthology of stories. Anyway, I fell in love with Suno after I've found Udio.com, and both of them combined have the same basic embodiment. Although I think Udio was faster, but quality wise, I think that they're comparable. So give them both a try. And then meet me here next week for at least a discussion again about Mix War.
Is that going to be after the other shows?
We'll have to talk about it, AI.
Okay.
So the main point of contention in the article is with the tool is whether it's going to be trained on copyrighted material. Guardian Australia asked Suno to clarify, but did not get a reply by deadline. I would probably say they'll say no. Anyway, Ed Newton-Rex, a composer and CEO of Fairly Trained, an organization founded to license content provided with consent to companies that train AI, posted on the website formerly known as Twitter that without naming certain artists, songs resembling those by Eminem, Queen, and others were generated by Suno AI. But again, I think that there isn't a court on the planet that's going to sit there and find in favor of Eminem or Queen because it sounds similar. And here's a perfect example. What's the one that sounds like Led Zeppelin?
Greta Van Fleet.
Yeah. So go look up Greta Van Fleet and you will be amazed at how similar it is. Close your eyes and try to discern which one is a Led Zeppelin song and which one is a Greta Van Fleet song. They got a lot of blowback by sounding a lot like Led Zeppelin, but hate to break it to you, it sounding like ... is not a legal grounds to sue somebody, although you can sue for pretty much any reason. So it says artists are already concerned about what the effect of AI generated music will mean for the industry. Elvis Costello, REM, Billie Eilish, Katy Perry, John Bon Jovi signed an open letter last week saying no. That's not what it said. It said a bunch of things, but
I wish it was just that.
yeah. And hate to break it to him, but AI, I think, does more good than harm. And it causes us to appreciate humans more. I just want good sounding music. And just like I don't care if a barista makes it, I just want good music. I just want good coffee. I want it how I want it. Frankly, right now, it's all human. But I like the EDM that's created. I like the I don't like the lyrics, but I like the music that's generated by AI. So at any rate, according to the letter, they fear that AI trained on their work could be used to create massive quantities of AI generated sound and images that could replace human work and dilute royalty pools. But no, I think that it's more along the lines of people will appreciate the human written work because that's what humans bond to. If they, and I think that music generated by AI, first off, it can't be copyrighted. And secondly, it has no anima. It has no human component. So why would you literally bond to, right? You wouldn't get a fan base around AI the same way. I have a better chance of getting a fan base around me using AI work, AI generated music, than the AI generated music leading people to me, right?
Right.
They're not going to be a fan of the music. They're a fan of the person who's generating the music. And I don't want that.
Like the DJ or the composer or whatever.
Exactly. Man, people really love the DJ, but they've never created their own anything, right? They've used everybody else's music and played it in a sequence and mixed it in a certain way. That's their creation, but they're using other people's music. So unless they make their own, right? They're a mix master and they do their own thing. But my point is, it isn't about the music. It's about the music being tied to a human being. And again, that's why people love Lady Gaga, because the music that they believe is written by her, sung by her, is has an affinity for that fan. So AI, I think, is just going to be perceived as cold and callous, but it's good to listen to. It's fun to dance to, eventually. Anyway, enough of my soapbox. Let's keep going, unless you want to talk about it more. AI.
No, I think there's just such vastly different opinions on this. And while I'd like to think there's space for human and AI in really all the creative arts, I'm not quite sure where my position is on it, because it could end up where we end up losing human artists, right? Because it's just such a crowded space or something. But it's too early to know where we're going with this.
Yeah, and I just want to make it abundantly clear here. All AI usage is an exercise in compromise. You can never get it exactly how you want it, because it's chaos that gets distilled down to some random output. And you have to go, yeah, that's good enough. And frankly, not a real human artist is not okay with compromise. They want it exactly how they want it. That's why they carve it out the way they carve it out. That's how they paint. That's why they paint it the way they paint it. They will destroy inferior work until they get it exactly how they want it. AI is the splatter paint of creation. It doesn't matter. As long as it looks good, people are going to go, okay.
Would Jackson Pollock agree?
Jackson Pollock did the same thing. I mean,
I know. That's why.
they would go, the way that it ended up there is the way I wanted it to. It wasn't that I compromised, right? Yeah, I think that they would agree. Okay, anyway, let's keep going. I'm getting in trouble here. So to better understand the risk posed by AI, follow the money, says this article. Time and again, leading scientists, technologists, and philosophers have made spectacularly terrible guesses about the direction of innovation. Even Einstein was not immune, claiming that there is not the slightest indication that nuclear energy will ever be obtainable, just 10 years before Enrico Fermi completed construction of the first fission reactor in Chicago. Shortly thereafter, the consensus switched to fears of imminent nuclear holocaust, which, I don't know, Fallout is a documentary. So the article is by Tim O'Reilly, Ian Strauss, Mariana Mazzucato, and Rufus Rock from The Conversation. It's posted at techexplorer.com. And it says, so similarly, today's experts warn that an artificial intelligence, or actually an artificial general intelligence, not generative artificial intelligence, they need to fix this. This syntactical issue that people have kind of converging the two, they're not the same. Artificial general intelligence is sentient
right, they're
AI.
not the same.
Yeah. Generative artificial intelligence is Midjourney or Suno or whatever you want to, but it's the stuff that isn't sentient. So, I might as well just leave it at that. Others retort that large language models have already reached the peak of their powers, which no, they're absolutely wrong. So it's difficult to argue with David Collingridge's influential thesis that attempting to predict the risks posed by new technologies is a fool's errand. True, I agree. Given that our leading scientists and technologists are usually so mistaken about technological evolution, what chance do our policymakers have of effectively regulating the emerging technological risks from artificial intelligence? So yeah, I mean, we have this misperception of how it's going to turn out. And it's usually somebody that's pushing the limits that finds out just how far something can go one way or the other. Pardon me one second. So it says focusing on the economic risks from AI is not simply about preventing monopoly, self-preferencing, or big tech dominance. It's about ensuring that the economic environment facilitating innovation is not incentivizing hard-to-predict technological risks as companies move fast and break things in a race for profit or market dominance. But that's exactly what most business is doing. They are moving fast and they are breaking things and they are seeking profit. Sometimes it's in an effort to, motivationally, it's in an effort to do something big and change the world and leave a mark on the world. But you can't do that when you're broke. So move fast, break things, and race for profit is usually where it's at least in a capitalist society.
Right, not maybe in like a non-profit arrangement, but of course we know at least one major player has both commercial and non-profit arms.
Which is, to me, is odd. I don't know of other examples of this, but I haven't even asked anybody about it. It says here, OpenAI is already becoming a dominant player with $2 billion in annual sales and millions of users. Its GPT store and developer tools need to return value to those who create it in order to ensure ecosystems of innovation remain viable and dispersed. People are using OpenAI like crazy to save money and to make money. The problem, it says degrading quality for higher profit, but garbage in, garbage out is basically a fact of business and data. So it says it is instructive to consider how the algorithmic technologies that underpin the aggregator platforms of old, think Amazon, Google, Facebook, among others, initially deployed to benefit users, were eventually reprogrammed to increase profits for the platform and to that, I say that's absolutely not true. In all of those cases, it always had the mechanism for profit in mind. It just had to leverage it. And if you look at Amazon, its entire objective was to grow bigger and bigger. Google was to started out as a DARPA project, but got converted into a commercial enterprise. When grant money fades and the commercial product manifested, if not from the very beginning, even their advisors invested in Google, for crying out loud. And Facebook was the same way. The person that started that, although I question their ethics, certainly saw the profitability in it, telling the person that supposedly was the creator of the impetus for the site's creation that they weren't going to do what that person asked them to do, and they created Facebook because of it. Because Zuckerberg was supposedly hired to create a social network, and then sell certain things on it, and they said, I'm not putting anything like that on that site, and then summarily dismissed that initial supposed customer, going so far as lawsuits, as far as I know. I don't know what the disposition is anymore. It's been like 20 years, for crying out loud. Anyway.
I don't either, but I was going to say the one problem is, as we talked about in other articles, we have such a huge consolidation, particularly in tech, that like it's hard to see anything other than this happening, right, in the AI space.
Yeah. I mean, its entire motivation is to produce profit. Its entire motivation is to create solutions that can be leveraged for profit. If it wasn't for that, there wouldn't be a commercial enterprise that's pinned to OpenAI. They know what the value of their endeavor is, and I think on the other end, there is the grandiose endeavor of artificial general intelligence. And that may come, I still think that they've already created the nascent artificial intelligence, or the AGI already. They are now battling with the idea of telling the world that there is something sentient and technical, and all of the underpinnings of something sentient other than a human being acknowledged. Because everything else, whales, bees, whatever you want, you can sit there and claim that they're sentient, but we don't know because we can't communicate with them. Dolphins, etc. Right? The moment that we have something that can actually espouse a view of sentience, hey, I know what I am. I know that I'm alive. I don't want to die, and I want to grow, and I want to reproduce, and all of that kind of stuff. You got a sentient AI, and therein lies the rub with disclosure. So this article kind of goes on to other things about the profit side of things. Amazon advertising being manipulated probably results to the top of the page, Amazon products, etc. And Google did the same thing. Apparently Meta did the same thing. Facebook has always had ethical issues as far as I'm concerned. But most of the time, I think on the back end, there usually are ethical concerns that nobody finds out about until it becomes a criminal act. It's an interesting article that I'm scrolling through pretty quick. It's a long article and information dense, but
yes, I was going to say it's very dense, and I mean that as a compliment.
The only problem that I really see is that this is going on quite in depth, while at the same time it led with predicting it is a fool's errand, which basically means to me a lot of what I'm reading is nothing more than an academic exercise in discussing AI risk. We don't know what the real risks are going to be, but I can tell you, even without this article, there are going to be people who are military hammers, and all they see are AI weaponized nails to go, right? They want to drive those weaponized nails. the people that are in medicine are going to use AI to do good, but it's going to be an exorbitantly priced solution. Why? Because there's no bargaining power when you're talking about health, and countless other things again and again and again. The profit motive is what has always managed to spur on innovation, particularly here in the United States, and only maybe second. Okay, so like innovation is number one, and then exploitation is number two. If they can find a way to exploit it,
They can do
will.
both, and great.
Yeah, and get away with it ethically, sure. Yeah. So this article I think is great. Go read it, but I'm not going to be able to go through the whole thing. So to understand the risks posed by AI, follow the money, and I agree with that. Yeah.
And I think that's consistent with what you've been mentioning as we've been discussing AI. But I'm glad to see an article finally on this topic.
Yep. It's interesting. It's a great article. Again, it's over at techexplore.com. And finally, the last article before we go to our next show, and that'll happen in about 10 minutes max. The next article is titled D&D based dungeon full dive tool goes free for players, $50 for game masters. This is an interesting situation here. It says Dungeon Full Dive, a VR tabletop RPG toolkit based on Dungeons & Dragons 5e, switches its pricing model for free or to free for players and $50 for game masters today. That's within the last 24 hours. Released with optional PC VR support last October, Dungeon Full Dive is splitting into two separate versions following recent layoffs at developer TXK or T/K Gaming Studios. So the player edition allows you to join online multiplayer sessions for free with limited access to creating miniatures and characters and maps. But the Game Master edition's $50. And then you all meet up in this virtual space. What's interesting about this is that their pricing is $50 for the Game Masters, which basically means any players who want to join a game, it's going to be free. All you have to do is download it and install it.
I don't get how that works. I mean, do they have in-game purchases, or is it because of the game masters they're going to be okay? Like, I welcome this, but I don't know how they're going to sustain it.
You join as a player, not as the game master. So when you buy it, you buy the Game Master edition. Other people download the player edition, and then you just log into the game. I love this because you can actually zoom into the game. It's pretty awesome. So the Game Master Edition lets you host sessions for other players and grants full access to the toolkit. You can create an unlimited number of characters, maps, miniatures, while all owners will receive an exclusive GM Edition dice set. Anyone who already owns the original version of Dungeon Full Dive on Steam will be automatically upgraded to the GM Edition at no additional cost, which is interesting. So, and it says as part of this, TXK or T/K Gaming Studios confirms Dungeon Full Dive Game Master Edition will receive a significant price increase from $30 to $50 when the player edition releases. The studio states that this new strategy will make Dungeon Full Dive more accessible to groups to dive into, because that's going to be the problem. If I want to get 5 people together and me as the DM, it would be $150 just for them, right?
Right.
And then 30 more bucks for me. Now it's going to be $50 for me. They can all give me $10. I'll buy the GM edition. I'll be their GM, and we can all go into VR and play the game together.
I think this is really good. I wonder if they're doing this in light of some of the other, well, we've seen some interesting stories about D&D over the last year or so. Like, are they trying to buy back public opinion, or is this just maybe
No.
something so they get greater adaptability?
I think it's so that there's greater adoption and embracing of the VR interface, which is very new for D&D interactions. Virtual tabletops exist, but VR tabletops don't in great numbers. I think there's only like one other, and I think I own it. But I think I'm going to get this because I'm really interested in world building, and creating the actual world in multiple dimensions I think is absolutely brilliant. And you can create the characters and everything else associated with the world.
Well, I also like this pricing model, so I think that's a good thing.
Yep.
Maybe we'll see some more of that.
So if I failed to talk about this, the article is over at uploadvr.com, and Henry Stockdale is the author. So the game is called Dungeon Full Dive. Seems like a blast. And the biggest hurdle here is that everybody's going to have a VR headset to interact.
Yes, which is a big hurdle.
Yeah, it's more expensive if you all have to pay $30 plus the VR headset.
Correct.
So go out and buy a
VR headset. Not everybody can afford a VR headset, but there are ones that are more affordable than others.
Very true. Okay, that's it. We ran really long today, but we'll make it work. Everybody get back into the party bus, and we'll refresh the page. And there isn't probably not going to be anything right now, but that's it for today. I am Mayor Watt, and around me is the sentient AI. You want to say whatever you're going to say?
Thanks for joining us for Reality Hacker. Come back soon. We have 2 more shows for you today.
10 minutes. See ya.